Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Poland Daily Travel. I'm Will Richardson, and if you've been watching previous episodes, you'll know where I am. But I'll go ahead and disclose, if you don't recognize what's behind me and next to me. I'm in Poznan in the Old Town, which is one of the great Renaissance towns north of the Alps. That's right, one of the great Renaissance areas. At least that's what the architect of the town hall called it. His name was Quadra, and he was from Lugano. But I'll tell you something, this particular statue right here is called a pranger, or it's a kind of a pillory, if you like. And in the old days, if you were naughty, sometimes very naughty, they would tie you to this thing. And when I say old days, they would tie you to this thing and punish you. I'll get to that in a second. But when I say old days, it's important to remember what old days mean in this context. In this context, the old days are the 1500s. That's right, the Tudor times. We all know that Henry VIII, for example, was prone to cut off his wives' heads or otherwise get rid of them, imprison them. So there was a lot of brutal activity, even up into the Renaissance. And this is what this represents. People who particularly could be women, for example, talk about women's rights or being treated civilly. Well, it wasn't so easy back then. And we can see this as an example. If you were wearing too frilly clothes, if you were exposing too much flesh, if you were too boisterous and joyful, and you were from the working class, if you were one of the workers, which is anybody who's not an aristocrat, more or less, or a burgher or an upstanding middle-class merchant, you'd be tied to this. And not beaten, but people would realize that you had done something wrong. And you could be, I suppose you have rotten vegetables thrown at you or things like that. The same time in America, for example, or in England, they had things called the pillories, which people would put their head and their arms into. I'm just looking over there because there's a couple that's getting married. They're having their pictures taken. You want to get that on the camera? Vlad, get that on the camera. The people there, yeah, get those people. Yeah, there you go. Wonderful, okay, yeah. And they're getting their pictures taken. They're getting their pictures taken here because why not? It's a beautiful place. So, as I was saying, the pillory was usually made of wood, and it was called the stocks. And you would be put in there, and people would pelt you with rotten vegetables and generally humiliate you. And that's what this was all about. The pranger, it's called, the pranger. On the top, you see this is a crusader representing, I suppose, justice and the power of the Almighty. The column itself is Gothic in style. You can see it's got these various eight panels. But the funny thing about it is this is not the real one. The real one is in a museum because it was being constantly defaced and had graffiti, not greedy, but graffiti. I don't know what graffiti is. Put on it, so they took the other one away, and in 1925 this one was created. So it wasn't getting any respect even 100 years ago. We leave the torture device, the pranger, behind us and come over here and talk about Persephone, the goddess in Greek culture, Proserpina in Roman culture, I think that's the correct pronunciation. The goddess of fertility, the cycle of life, often associated with the underworld, of course, because she represents the mysticism of the female. And how interesting that over here we've got a place where you tie the woman and punish her for being too voluptuous in her display, which might even be modest. You punish her. But over here you have this beautiful, elegant statue which is coming out nicely in the sun, which is in total contrast, almost a worship of the mystery of what it is to be a female. And any man, as can I, can attest to that mystery, and still constantly trying to fathom it, to understand it, to capture that spirit, which is so different than the male outlook. Yeah. Her father, of course, associated with the underworld. Once again, the dark and mysterious magic of what we can't understand, of what and I think that if you look at this and think about the pranger, and you're punishing the women there and then worshiping here, and isn't that a lot like life? Isn't that a lot like what happens in life? People are alternately punished and praised, and sometimes the same paragraph. Interesting stuff. There are 4 of these statues. One of them, of course, is Neptune. I don't remember the other 2, but we'll get pictures of them. You might recognize this here statue behind me, which I'm reckoning is the king of the oceans and the seas, by the name of Poseidon if you're Greek, and Neptune if you're a fan of the Romans. Personally, I don't care what you call him, he's a pretty impressive guy, especially when he's carrying that trident, that 3-pronged spear. Well, people, you may be asking, why is Neptune here? Because they love Neptune in Poland. It's not that far from the sea. It's not that far from a river that goes to the sea. We say a part of the mythic culture of Poland. That's right. Behind that is the town hall. And I'm telling you, that is an impressive building. You don't need me to tell you. All you have to do is look at it. It's an incredible building. Poznan. Why is Poznan interesting? Apart from the fact that it has a beautiful old town and perhaps the oldest cathedral in Poland, and is and has a number of really good spots to sit and have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or a beer or even a whiskey if that's what you like, or even a fine Polish vodka. Yeah, you can do all of that right here on this beautiful Renaissance square. Poznan. Yes, Poznan. The heart of Poland. We've been in previous program to Gniezno. And they're closely related because the first king of Poland is closely, well, he wasn't a king, the first ruler, let's call him, because he was not crowned king. Mieszko. That's right, Mieszko. Remember that name because he's the first ruler of Poland, and supposedly he was crowned or anointed or whatever the procedure was 1,000 some years ago, right here in Poznan at the cathedral, which sits on a little island in the Warka River. Remember the Warka? It's one of the most important rivers in Poland. You know, you have the Vistula, or the Wisła in Polish. You have the Warka. You have the Oder, which is the border, provides much of the border with Germany. What's the main 3? There's others. We've been down the Pilica. Recently, we went on the Drvanca River, which was crucial to Teutonic developments just to the east of where we are standing today, near Torun. But Poznan is one of the major cities of Poland.